So when symptoms, they are very severe when they occur late in the season. So symptoms may proceed, or it may be easily seen on the tubers. So generally it is characterized as some irregular depressed areas, or irregularly shaped slightly depressed areas, which may range from brownish to purplish, and generally these are more prominent on the red cultivars as compared to white cultivars. So some kind of internal rotting may be witnessed, but this is seen only in case of very severe cases. So we have discussed the symptoms. They generally appear on the tip or on the margin initially as water-soaked areas. They will extend, or they will develop into some kind of necrotic brownish to purplish black spots. And generally in the winter, sorry, in morning hours, so one may easily witness whitish mycelial growth on the margin of this necrotic spot, generally on the lower side. So similar symptoms, they appear in case of tomato as well. The Phytophthora infestans causing tomato, it can cause infection on potato, so they are cross-infective. So tomato serves as a collateral host for Phytophthora infestans causing tomato. Its virulence and aggressiveness, again, it differs. So same kind of symptoms, they appear on tomato as well, similar, very similar kind of symptoms. And generally fruit infections, they are generally seen on unripe fruit or half ripe fruit मा चाहिँ यसको इन्फेक्सन देखिन्छ Phytophthora infestans को. So they also appear as some kind of brownish or irregular patches, which are generally brownish, and if conditions they are very humid, so it is further accompanied by development of whitish mycelia. So about the disease cycle, so generally Phytophthora infestans, it cannot survive below the temperature condition of 30 degrees Celsius or below 30 degrees Celsius. So generally the seed tuber, it is stored in this cold storage. So in cold storage, this fungus, it can easily survive. So generally the primary source of inoculum is infected tubers, and they survive as a dormant mycelia in cold storage, or in temperate regions in the soil, or in the crop residue itself. So wood spores, they may also serve as inoculum, but they are rarely formed. So it is a heterothalic fungus, so this requires two kind of mating types, which might not be always available in nature. So that's why we spores, they are rarely formed. So tomato, it can serve as a collateral host, and infected tubers, they generally give rise to the diseased horns, and so on which the pathogen, it can easily sporulate, it can multiply, and it can provide primary source of, or it can be primary source of inoculum. So generally temperature range of 12 to 24 degrees Celsius is very conducive. It requires high humidity. Sporulation does not take place below 75% relative humidity. So optimum day temperature required by Phytophthora infestans is 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. This the night temperature is 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. So light rains, cloudy weathers, they are very important for development of epidemics, intermittent rain. So this is a big problem. Since a long time, many researches have been carried out, and this is actually a very fast evolving fungus. It evolves very fast, so due to which it's very difficult to control them with the help of chemical means. So तपाईँले फोरकास्टिङको कुरा कुनै बेलामा पढ्नु भएको थियो. So this is also known as Dutch rule. So त्यो ये चारवटा चाहिँ क्राइटेरिया छन् डच रुलको नाइट टेम्परेचर इट सुड बी बिलो ड्यू पोइन्ट फर एटलिस्ट 4 आवर्स मिनिमम टेम्परेचर चाहिँ 10 डिग्री सेल्सियस अर स्लाइटली हायर अथवा क्लाउडिनेसको चाहिँ इन्डेक्स 0.8 predicted on the next day or rainfall is predicted at least of 0.1 mm, so that is Dutch rule and the RH at least 75% भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ ब्युमन्ट so Beaumont भन्ने researcher he again in order to increase the precision of this forecasting model. So if temperatures it remains slightly above 10 degrees Celsius from 10 to 15 degrees Celsius and RH it remains above 75% for at least 2 days. So it is predicted that the disease will appear after 10 days if there is sufficient inoculum. So late blight of potato, you know about metalaxyl or antiomycete fungicides. So generally, it is very important to treat seed tubers with boric acid. So 33% boric कुनै पनि कोल्ड स्टोरेजमा चाहिँ सिड स्टोर गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ 3% बोरिक एसिड सल्युसनमा चाहिँ इमर्ज गर्ने फर जस्ट 10 to 15 मिनट्स र त्यसपछि त्यसलाई चाहिँ ड्राई गर्ने अनि त्यसपछि स्टोर गर्दाखेरि इट्स डोर्मेन्ट यसको इनोकुलमको एमाउन्ट घटाउन सकिन्छ. सो द्याट इज भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट. र त्यस्तै अब अरू sanitation को कुराहरु छन्. So resistant varieties को केसमा we don't have much resistant varieties. जस्तो चाहिँ जनकदेव it is also moderately resistant. Desire it is moderately susceptible हैन. खुमल series को चाहिँ पनि they are not so resistant. So 100% resistant हरु छैनन्. This Kufri Giriraj, Kufri Malar, it used to be resistant, but the resistance it has been already broken. Kufri Thangam, so कुनै पनि भेराइटी हैन त्यो सधैँभरि रेजिस्टेन्ट हुँदैन. त्यो किन हुँदैन भन्ने कुरा कुनै बेला मैले तपाईलाई भनेको थिएँ. So prophylactic spray is very important if the weather conditions they are conducive अथवा चाहिँ they are likely to favor the disease development. So one should go with prophylactic spray. And so generally हाम्रो केसमा चाहिँ आलु चाहिँ अलि ढिलो रोपिन्छ हैन. सो त्यो ढिलो रोप्दाखेरि चाहिँ जस्तो फेब्रुअरी जनवरी फेब्रुअरी पुगिरा हुन्छ आलु रोप्दाखेरि. सो त्यो कन्डिसन इट इज भेरी कन्ड्युसिभ एन्ड सो अर्ली प्लान्टिङ इज अफ कोर्स recommended. So prophylactic sprays they are very important. So one can go with mancozeb, chlorothalonil, अथवा propineb, अथवा चाहिँ one can go with dimethomorph. So if there is already disease, so generally metalaxyl plus mancozeb को formulation of तपाईले बजारमा पाउनुहुन्छ अथवा this is easily available, but phytophthorate has already developed resistance against metalaxyl. So it's better to recommend cymoxanil plus mancozeb. The formulation is available as moximate. In our case, moximate भनेर पाइन्छ MOXIMATE अथवा चाहिँ कर्जेट-एमेट भनेर पनि अवेलेबल छ यो moximate. or कर्जेट-एमेट or phenamidone-based fungicides such as Sectin, they can be recommended. So generally, cymoxanil plus mancozeb they are recommended at 0.25% if the weather conditions they are very favorable and if the disease risk is very high. So generally, we do not go with this metalaxyl alone. So deholming, of course, it should be so about before 2 to 3 weeks of deholming, digging of tubers should be done. So because that reduces the amount of tissue for the pathogen to sporulate. So तपाईँले फाइटोथोरा भन्ने कुराको स्पोरेन्जिया स्पोरेन्जियोफोर माइसिलियम कस्तो हुन्छ भन्ने कुराहरू तपाईँले पहिले पढिसक्नु भएको छ. So I won't be repeating those things. So next important disease is black scurf of potato. So this is generally there are different phases of this disease. So stem canker and blight phase, they are more destructive, but this phase is rarely seen. Generally, black scurf phase is seen. So black scurf phase means generally some kind of black crust that is actually sclerotia, of Rhizoctonia solani. So those are found embedded on the tissues. So this black scurf phase, it does not reduce the yield, it actually reduces the marketability of the tubers. So generally this can be seen this problem is seen in many areas, in many potato areas and growing areas of Nepal, generally when there is in areas with high rainfall. So this stem canker phase is not generally reported in our case, but still it can, and it can if some varieties, if some susceptible varieties they are used. So generally, in case of stem canker, the sprout, and so if there is high amount of inoculum of Rhizoctonia solani, its symptom may be seen on the growing tips of the sprout. So if the late infections occurs, so some kind of necrotic brownish. So when there is Rhizoctonia infection, generally those lesions, they are reddish brown. So some kind of elongated circular, and and they are generally sunken, that makes the stem constricted. So such kind of symptoms may be seen on the lower stem or on the sprouts. And these symptoms, they may extend to the leaf and they may cause blighting. Similar reddish brown symptoms, they may be seen on the leaf. But in our case, this phase, black scurf phase, is more prominent. So in this case, as I already said, these are sclerotia of the pathogen, which gives some kind of black crust-like effect on the tubers, and they are generally embedded. They are normally sheeted on the skin, and they do not cause any kind of internal rotting. They just reduce the marketability of the potato tubers. So about disease cycle, you know about sclerotia. So they are the penetrating structure. It is a soil-borne fungus. So they can survive in the soil as a sclerotia or on the seed tuber as a sclerotia. So problem of Rhizoctonia, it is growing across the country in numerous vegetables, in rice, in maize, in other cereals. So they can survive easily in the soil for many years, 2 to 5 years, very easily. So generally, this is more problematic in rainy in areas with high rainfall or in fields with high soil moisture. That is very conducive for infection. So temperature favorable is slightly warm, that is just 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. And Rhizoctonia, it is favored by application of ammonical fertilizers. So any ammonical fertilizers, if they are applied, so it will increase the severity of Rhizoctonia. So some more photographs. So these are the lesions on the growing sprout on the lower stem. So some kind of wilting may be also seen as a result of the stem cankers. So sometimes when the infections, they are very severe, so the potato tubers, I know, so they are adventitious potato tubers, they may be found. So this is very rare, but still these are some symptoms reported. So black scurf, it is It does not generally, this phase does not generally reduce the yield, but it's still it is very important. So crop rotation is very important. Boric acid को चाहिँ यसमा पनि ट्युबर ट्रिटमेन्ट गर्न सकिन्छ बिफोर प्लान्टिङ. So before planting, boric acid treatment is very important at the rate of 3%, that is 30 gram per liter. त्यस्तै म्यागोजेब अथवा मेटालेक्जिल को चाहिँ फर्मुलेसनको चाहिँ ट्युबर ट्रिटमेन्ट पनि गर्न सकिन्छ एट द रेट अफ 0.2%, होइन, द्याट इज 2 grams per liter of water. So crop rotation with cereals or mustard, generally brassicaceous crop or legumes can be done. Incorporation of high amount of organic matter is advisable. अथवा चाहिँ neem cake को चाहिँ application is advisable at the rate of 150 kg per hectare. Soil application of trichoderma and pseudomonas त्यो कसरी गर्ने, कुन रेटमा गर्ने कुरा मैले धेरैचोटि भनिसकेको छु. I won't be repeating it again and again. So that is also very useful. Soil application of trichoderma and pseudomonas. So त्यो गर्न सकिन्छ. र केमिकलमा जाने हो भने चाहिँ सिड डिप चाहिँ अथवा ट्युबर डिप क्यान बी डन इन कार्बेन्डाजिम or it can be done in Monserone. So Monserone is highly systemic. It is very effective fungicide against rhizoctonia, which is actually pensicurone. The active ingredient is pensicurone. So these things can be done to manage this disease. So next important disease of potato is common scab of potato. So there are a variety of symptoms of scab. And so generally this common scab, it is more problematic in plains, in Tarai region problematic, sir, where there is a problem of this high pH, or when the soil is alkaline, because this is favored by alkaline soil conditions. So again, in this case, also symptoms, they may be variable. Different kinds of symptoms may be seen. Some symptoms, they are known as rosetting symptoms. Some symptoms, they are known as irrumpent lesions. Some are deep sheeted, and we'll discuss about those things. So multiple types of symptoms. So in some cases, there is just slight browning or roughening of the tubers. So some kind of rough areas, rough brownish areas of the tuber skin, and that may have corky layer around it. It may be of different types. So we'll discuss about some are concentric, some look like concentric series of wrinkled layers. So one might get easily confused if he or she has not seen this. So they may generally, it is of two types, shallow and deep pitted types. So some kind of rough areas on the tuber skin is seen, and some kind of pitting is seen, and that is surrounded by some kind of corky layer. So in this case, this is deep pitted scab. So in this case, the lesions, they are more sunken, or they are depressed. They are also dark brown. The area surrounding this pitted region, or the pit, it is surrounded by hard corky tissues, and they are seen all across the tubers. In some cases, they are just shallow scabs, so no any kind of pitting is seen. They are just superficial roughened areas or crust-like areas. This is actually a rosette kind of symptom. We'll discuss about that. So in this case, they are not depressed. They are sometimes raised, but slightly they may be depressed at the center. They also have corky tissues around that, which is actually the result of abnormal proliferation of the cells. Generally lenticels को abnormal proliferation ले गर्दाखेरि यस्तो खाले symptomहरू देखिन्छ. So this is shallow scab. So again, we have different kinds of symptoms. So this is superficial scab. So this is netted scab. These are known as netted scab. These are known as rosetting kinds of scab. So some scab, they are deep pitted. Some this is actually this one is powdery scab, which is more problematic in western hills of Nepal. That is again caused by spongo. That is caused by actually by another uh, fungus which is known as spongo spora subterranea. We will discuss about powdery scab as well. So अहिले यसलाई छोडिदिनुहोस्. So different kinds of symptoms, pitted scab होइन. So this is pitted scab. It has they are raised on the border होइन, and with pitted or crater like center. Their center it may be like crater. They are generally they are pitted, and on the margins they are raised. And this is rugged kind of scabs. They are superficial and they are corky, and they show some kind of pattern, right? Some kind of star like pattern. So this is rugged kind of scab. And this is generally this is common. These are more seen in our cases in my experience. So this kind of symptoms they are more seen. So generally they are brown to dark brown. They have slightly raised margins, and they are characterized by formation of corky tissues in this margin, but they are slightly depressed. So again, some more symptoms. So these all are scabs. So this is a variety of symptoms. Sometimes this was just some kind of roughening or abrasion of tuber skin. Right? So these are rosette type symptoms or net type symptoms. So this is net type symptom. This is rosetting type of symptoms, and sometimes they are deep pitted. Right? So like in this case they are deep pitted, so there's prominent depression, or sometimes there may be concentric series of lot of wrinkled layers of corky tissues, and that generally have central black core. They do not they are not depressed. So variety of symptoms they are seen. So generally some kind of rough areas, otherwise a crust-like areas, corky tissues, they are generally found in case of common scab. So this is actually powdery scab. Symptoms of powdery scab and common scab, they are very different. And this is one of the very important problem in Western Nepal. Eastern Nepal is a common scab problem. So common scab is a bacterial disease, while powdery scab is a fungal disease that is caused by Spongospora subterranea. So symptoms symptoms of common scab and powdery scab, they resemble each other. एउटै देखिन्छ हेर्दाखेरि हैन. So generally most of the time, so in case of powdery scab, so if you see the skin अथवा चाहिँ, so initially they are just like pimple like, हैन, some kind of pimple like round lesions अथवा चाहिँ pimple like spot, some kind of slightly raised brown अथवा purplish brown pustules they are produced, right? And they are filled with these cystosorae. These are spores, resting spores of Spongospora. So these are known as cystosorus. जुन तपाईले third semester मा पढिसक्नु भएको छ. They look like they are black, they are sponge like. So when this pimple like thing अथवा चाहिँ pimple like spot, it grows in size, and so again it will increase in size, and finally it will rupture. So when it ruptures, so so this kind of thing is seen, this kind of symptom is seen. So in this case, the skin on the edges, so यसको चाहिँ tubercle skin on the edges, so they form some kind of loose flaps अथवा तपाईले पाप्रा परेको भन्न सक्नुहुन्छ, some kind of loose flappy skin it is seen on the margin. And this spot अथवा their center, they are filled with browny or to black mass of spore, which is not common in case of common scab. So microscopy is again very important to confirm this. So generally, this disease is a high altitude disease. Generally, 2500 मिटर भन्दा तल देखिँदैन, रेयर होइन, रेयरली देखिन्छ, तर जेनरली 2500 मिटर्स एबभ द सी लेभलमा चाहिँ यो एकदमै व्यापक देखिन्छ, अथवा चाहिँ 1800 देखि 2000 भनौँ होइन. सो जस्तो दैलेख रिजनमा इट इज भेरी सिभियर. त्यस्तै चाहिँ यो डडेलधुरामा इट इज भेरी सिभियर. So in many areas of Western Nepal, it is this powdery scab. It is very severe. So generally, this is favored by acidic soil conditions, cool and humid, wet soils. But in case of common scab, it is favored by alkaline soil conditions. So कहिलेकाहीँ some kind of small hypertrophied areas they may be also seen. Generally, above ground symptoms are देखिँदैन यसको without, I mean, they do not actually uh, uh, they do not show any kind of adverse effect होइन. त्यो विल्टिङ यताउता हुने केही पनि हुँदैन. सो यसको सिम्टम देखिने भनेको ट्युबरमा मात्र हो. र कहिलेकाहीँ sometimes these kind of small gulls may be seen. So these are actually hypertrophied tissues. So they may be seen on the roots of infected plants. This is very rare. Generally, these kind of symptoms, यदि त्यो फुटेको छैन भने यस्तो चाहिँ irrampant pimple-like spots they are seen. यदि त्यो फुट्यो भने चाहिँ यो पाप्रा परेको स्पटहरू जसमा चाहिँ they are filled with mass of fungal spore ball. Right? So the spore ball looks like this. They look like sponge like. These are group of these are known as cystosaurus. They are actually a group of resting spores or many resting spores. They are aggregated together. So this is some fact about powdery scab. So about disease cycle of common scab. So they are soil-borne, they are bacteria, gram-positive bacteria. They can survive for numerous years. They are favored by dry and alkaline soil conditions. So Streptomyces scabies, they are favored by dry and alkaline soil conditions, while Spongospora subterranea, they are favored by wet and acidic condition. So त्यो कुरा तपाईँले याद राख्नुपर्छ. So they can easily survive saprophytically, streptomyces. So त्यस्तै powdery scab को कुरा गर्ने हो भने they can survive through their resting spore in the soil and on the infected tubers itself. So temperature requirement it differs. So in case of streptomyces, so optimum temperature for multiplication is in the range of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. But in case of powdery scab, so temperature they are favored by low soil temperature, that's 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. And when that 10 to 15 degrees Celsius of soil temperature, it is accompanied with high soil आउँछ. Gypsum is very addition of gypsum because this is favored by alkaline soil condition. त्यस्तै powdery scab it is favored by acidic soil conditions. त्यो भनेपछि लाइमिङ गर्नु पर्यो त्यति बेला. Uh, so many things are common, but still, so their favorable conditions they differ. So केही कुराहरू फरक गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ in both of the cases. So now we'll be discussing about another important disease of potato, which is known as potato wart. So this disease in तपाईँले दार्जिलिङ एरियामा this is an endemic disease भनेर कुनै बेलामा पढ्नु भएको थियो होइन. So that this disease was introduced in Darjeeling through Kufri Jyoti, which was once which at that time was a resistant variety to late blight of potato. So late blight of potato को resistant variety procure गर्दाखेरि त्यो कुफ्री ज्योति भन्ने variety it is actually a very susceptible variety to potato wart. So you introduced भएको थियो. So still they are facing problems. It is an endemic disease. So this is caused by Syncytium indobioticum. नेपालीमा यसलाई ऐजेरू भनिन्छ. यो पनि पूर्वी पूर्वी चाहिँ पहाडहरूमा को चाहिँ growing region when this can be seen. So in this case, generally no any kind of generally except roots and all underground parts are attacked, and above ground मा चाहिँ खासै त्यस्तो सिम्पटमहरू देखिँदैन हैन. So if it is very severe, slightly wilting देखिने कुराहरू छन्, तर generally above ground symptoms they are not seen. र underground part मा चाहिँ all of the part is attacked except root. So आलुको ऐजेरू भनेपछि अब so these are some symptoms in this case. So this fungus, it is a soil borne fungus. It induces hypertrophy and hyperplasia. So when it infects, it rapidly multiply at the infection site. It will induce hypertrophy and hyperplasia, and that will result in formation or development of warty tissues, wart-like or abnormal growth or some bead-like projection. Initially, they may be just like bead-like, and they will gradually enlarge, and they may give some kind of cauliflower-like effect, when they develop. So these warts, they may give cauliflower-like effect or bead-like effect when they are small. So कहिलेकाहीँ तपाईको आलु किन्दाखेरि यस्तो पनि तपाईले भेट्न सक्नुहुन्छ कहिले कसो हैन. तर प्राय जसो आलु किन्दाखेरि तपाईले राम्रो आलु मात्र छानेर किन्नुहुन्छ. So generally warts, they are soft, they may be spherical, they may be rough, they may be cauliflower-like. If they are exposed to the sun, they are green. Generally, initially they are whitish, but with invasion of secondary pathogens, they become dark in color, or they may become rotted. So these things can happen, right? But symptoms, they are only prominent. Generally, they are prominent on the tubers, and sometimes it is also very rare. So they are characterized by cauliflower-like warty growth. They may be small in size, they may be large in size. They cannot be recognized until and unless tubers are dug out. And sometimes warty growths or these hypertrophied cells, they may be observed on the stalks near the soil line. Generally त्यो देखिँदैन. Typical wart, it is rough. It is cauliflower-like. They are initially white, or they become light creamish, and with aging they become brown to blackish because of the secondary invasion of some pathogens. So these are extremely persistent in the soil. So this is very typical symptoms, characterized by cauliflower-like warty growth. So these are very persistent in the soil. They can, once they established in the soil, resting spores, they can survive for many years, at least 10 years. At least 10 years, someone they can survive, even if the land is kept fallow, even if nothing is grown. They are very persistent. So that's why Darjeeling is still facing this problem. So once it is introduced in the soil, it is very difficult to manage this disease. So They are both soil-borne as well as tuber-borne. So, in fact, primary source of infection it may occur. Uh, this is also favored. This is favored of wet soil conditions, temperature ranging from 10 to 24 degrees Celsius. Generally, 21 degrees Celsius is the optimum, and they are also slightly favored by acidic soil conditions. So we have some raised tent varieties: Kufri Jyoti, Desire, Cardinal, Kumal Setu, Kumal Ratu, Jonak Dev. These are some raised tent varieties. Kufri Jyoti is still raised tent against potato wart, but it is highly susceptible to late blight of potato. So we do not have much options, so दार्जिलिङमा चाहिँ दार्जिलिङको आलु कतै पनि जाँदैन. दार्जिलिङको आलु दार्जिलिङमै रहन्छ. इट इज नट एक्सपोर्टेड आउटसाइड. सो यो इन्डियन कन्डिसन एउटा सिनेरियो. नेपालको कन्डिसनमा त्यस्तो कुनै पनि छैन, कुनै पनि रिजनल क्वारेन्टिनको चाहिँ रेगुलेसन छैन. क्रप रोटेसन मैले भनिसकेँ. इट क्यान एटलिस्ट सर्भाइभ इन द सोइल फर 10 years विदाउट even if it is those land is kept fallow. So soil fumigation with formalin 5% गर्न सकिन्छ, but it is very costly for large fields. So we can only go with where we are. So generally in this case, since it is favored by जहाँ यसको प्रकोप बढी छ, त्यस्तो केसमा चाहिँ कल्टिभेसन इज इन रेज्ड बेड इज एडभाइजेबल. जेनरली चाहिँ रेज्ड बेडमा तपाईँले देख्नु भएको छैन, तर जहाँ चाहिँ यो समस्या छ त्यहाँनिर रेज्ड बेड बनायो भने यसको सिभिरिटी घट्छ भन्ने कुराहरू रिपोर्टहरू छ. त्यस्तै सोइल एप्लिकेसनको कुरा अब हाम्रो केसमा स्युडोमोनास र ट्राइकोडर्मा मात्र पाइन्छ, नत्र ब्यासिलस इज भेरी इफेक्टिभ अगेन्स्ट पोटाटो वाट, सिन्काइट्रियम इन्डोबाइटिकम, ब्यासिलस सब्टिलिस. अब त्यो पाउनु भयो भने राम्रै हो, पाउनु भएन भने स्टिल स्युडोमोनास एन्ड ट्राइकोडर्मा दे हेभ एन्टागोनिस्टिक इफेक्ट अगेन्स्ट सिन्काइट्रियम इन्डोबाइटिकम. सो बोरिक एसिडको कुरा अब डिस्कार्ड गर्नु पर्यो, त्यस्तो ट्युबरहरूलाई लाउनु भएन. रोटेसनको कुराहरू. सो दिज आर सम थिङ्स टु बी कन्सिडर्ड. त्यस्तै अर्को इम्पोर्टेन्ट डिजिज छ सफ्ट रट एन्ड ब्ल्याक लेग अफ पोटाटो. सो सफ्ट रट इज अ फेज एन्ड ब्ल्याक लेग इज another phase which is caused by Irvinia Caratovora pathovar Caratovora and Irvinia Caratovara pathovar atroseptica. This is soft. This is popularly also known as soft rot bacteria. Irvinia Caratovora. They are known as soft rot causing bacteria. So तपाईको आलुमा चाहिँ घरमा राख्दाखेरि धेरै सफ्ट रटको केसेसहरू आउँछ, हैन. सो सफ्ट यु नो अबाउट सफ्ट रट, हैन. त्यो कुहिएपछि गनाउँछ, जुन आलु त्यो कुहिएपछि गनाउँछ. So that is due to Irvinia Caratovora. So soft rot includes some kind of rotting. Generally they are wet. Internal tissue is damaged. They emit very foul odor, and they are sharply delineated by dark brown margin. That means they are very distinct from rest of the healthy areas. And rotting. So this is further accompanied by many other secondary pathogens, and it emits foul odor. So this is generally seen in storage in our houses. So same bacteria. So when the infections it occurs early, or when they are favored by soil condition, generally they can occur from 16 to 35 degrees Celsius. They are favored by wet conditions. If soil conditions, they are very wet. So black leg of potato may be seen. So some kind of black to brown areas on the stem near the soil line, they are seen, and they may cause the plant to wilt, to lose their green color, and similarly there may be also some kind of rolling of the leaves. So these symptoms they may be seen. So these are two phases So generally, it is a it establishes itself as latent infection. फिल्डमा नदेखिए पनि स्टोरेजमा पछि देखिन सक्छ अथवा कहिलेकाहीँ फिल्डमा पनि देखिन सक्छ. सो यस्तो खाले आलु कतै न कतै देख्नुभयो होला जसमा चाहिँ कहिलेकाहीँ म्यागट्सहरू पनि देखिन्छ होइन. एकदम आलुको चाहिँ पुरा बनाएर चाहिँ तपाईँले त्यो कल आउट गर्दाखेरि तपाईँले यस्तो भेट्नुहुन्छ तर तपाईँले त्यो हेर्नु भएको छैन होला किनभने तपाईँलाई घिन लाग्छ. सो यसमा जेनरली दिस म्यागट्स दे ट्रान्समिट दिस इर्विनिया ट्रोसेप्टिका or sometimes fruit fly, they are also vector, but generally seed corn maggots, they are important vectors. uh, Bacteria, they can easily survive in infected tuber as active infection or as latent infection, or they can easily survive in the insect body, or they can easily survive in the soil. They are favored by wet conditions and warm conditions. सो जहाँ यसको समस्या छ त्यहाँनिर सोइल एप्लिकेसन अफ ब्लिचिङ पाउडर. So if it is very severe, then we recommend 25 kg of bleaching powders. So first of all, we actually mix this bleaching powder in FYM and then we apply in the field. होइन त्यस्तै जहाँ यसको प्रकोप बढी देखिया छ त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ सीड ट्युबर ट्रिटमेन्ट विथ स्ट्रेप्टोसाइक्लिन at the rate of 100 ppm for 30 minutes it is advisable. Shallow planting is recommended. So now we'll discuss about some important viral diseases of potatoes. So there are many viral diseases. Some are known as potato virus X, some are known as potato virus Y, potato virus M, potato virus S, potato virus A, Acubar mosaic virus. So सबै तपाईले जान्नुपर्ने आवश्यकता छैन. So generally among these potato virus Y, it causes high heavy losses. Potato virus X is mild motor, the mild symptom. Potato virus Y, it is severe potato virus, severe pani bhaniन्छ त्यसलाई. So we'll discuss some of these. So generally these, many of them, they are transmitted by aphids. Potato apical leaf curl virus, stem necrosis, they are not reported in our case, so forget about that. So all of them, or many of them, many of them, they are transmitted by aphids. Potato virus X, it is not generally, aphid is not efficient vector. They are sap transmissible, otherwise they are mechanically transmitted. So first of all, we will discuss about potato virus X. So this is a Potex virus. अब त्यो तपाईलाई क्लासिफिकेसनमा चाहिँ जिनस भन्ने छ यसको जिनस भनेको Potex virus हो. Species is potato virus X. So in case of potato virus X, it is not so important from damage point of view. Generally yield losses, they are not very high. It just ranges from 1 to 5%. So in case of PBX, it also it is also known as faint mottle virus because it causes some faint or some mild intervenal mosaic symptoms, just mild intervenal mosaic symptoms with some light green patches. And so again, there are many strains. In case of viruses, just by observing symptoms, it is very difficult to conclude that it is due to PVX. Generally in the field, PVX, PVY and PVS, it is associated. Generally PVX and PVY co-infection also. But still we can, we can speculate or we can guess it is PVX. So for exact identification or for concluding that it's etiology, we must go with ELISA or PCR based detection. So in PVX, so it causes just faint mottle, so agi pani मैले भनिसके. So यसको transmission, it is generally due to it is mechanically transmitted, so it is mechanically transmitted. It can be transmitted by seed and contact. It is also seed transmitted. The aphid transmission is case it is rarely seen. Some strains, if they are very virulent, so there are again many strains. In detail, so some strain they may can cause crinkling. So generally PVY and PVX they are associated. So PVY is a bit more destructive, or more it produces more severe symptoms. So PVX was a Potex virus. It is a Potivirus. Its genus is Potivirus. There are again many classification: Bacomovirus, Potivirus, Gemini virus, Lutiovirus, Carla virus. So there are again several strains. Some strains they are mild. Some strains they are very severe, right? So generally so when strains they are very severe, so in on leaves they cause necrosis, some kind of necrotic dead spots on the leaves they are produced. And of course necrotic spots they are also produced on the tubers if the strain of potato virus Y is severe. So generally this potato virus Y, it causes potato mottling, or it causes severe mosaic. It produces generally two kinds of symptoms: severe mosaic, or um, rugose. मलाई rugosity भनेर थाहा छ हैन. So rugosity भनेको यो the intervenal areas they are highly raised. त्यसपछि चाहिँ they become leathery, they become brittle भन्ने कुराहरु हैन. So there are again variety of symptoms. It depends upon the stage, or it depends upon the strain of the virus. So generally it induces severe mosaic or rugose kind of symptoms. So the mosaic it is very severe. Generally it is accompanied with potato virus X. If the strain is severe, it causes necrosis along the veins. So initially necrosis is seen along the veins on the leaves, and that becomes some kind of necrotic spot, and this can be seen on the tubers as well. So generally it causes heavy losses in association with PVX and PVY, and this is transmitted by aphid in non-persistent manner. So venal necrosis is very important symptom, and that through necrosis it is pus and converted into necrotic spots. It induces severe rugose or severe mosaic. So rugosity, in case of PVS, faint vein banding is not prominent. Vein banding भनेको कुरा यसमा चाहिँ हुँदैन, तर यो केसमा चाहिँ there may be vein banding in case of PBX. So अर्को छ PBM, potato virus M. So in this case, so the most there is of course some kind of mild mosaic kind of symptom. So but most diagnostic symptom is appearance of spoon-shaped chamcha jasto leaves. So this more or less it is spoon-shaped, or sometimes the symptoms they also resemble potato leaf roll virus को symptoms. So soft curling of the leaves. तर अहिले पछि हामी पढ्छौं potato leaf roll virus. So in potato leaf roll virus there is cracking of the leaves, अथवा चाहिँ the rolling is very severe and they will crack at the point of roll. But in PVM generally such kind of symptom, that is spoon shaped leaves corresponding to a soft curling of the leaves. So generally these kind of symptoms in case of viral disease symptoms, they are most pronounced on the younger leaves as compared to older leaves. Older tissues they are more or less resistant. And this is a Carla virus, genus. This the PVS. So PVS, potato virus, severe पनि गरिन्छ. So generally, this induces, again, there are several strain. There are some strains that there are actually two strains, ordinary and necrotic strain. So this strain को कुराहरुमा अहिले नजाउँ. So generally it causes deformation and bronzing of the leaves. So some kind of bronzing like effect is seen, occurrence of tiny spots on the leaves. They are seen, as I said, there are again, generally there are two strains, normal strain, the necrotic strain. So necrotic strain ma चाहिँ this venal necrosis, they are very prominent. Of course, there are mild mosaic. र PVS1, यसलाई चाहिँ PVS1 पनि भनिन्छ कहिलेकाहीँ, for kind information. So in this case also leaves, they become brittle, they become leathery. It can produce, there may be crinkling of the leaves, there may be mosaic, but this is another important symptom. So your case ma चाहिँ mosaic, of course there are mosaic, plants are dwarf, तर मेन यसको सिम्टम सजिलरी अथवा चाहिँ when there is a necrotic strain, so deformation and bronzing of the leaves it is seen, and occurrence of tiny spots are seen. So mottling effects, त्यसपछि चाहिँ crinkling effects, distortion, dwarfing, these are very common symptoms. Next is potato leaf roll virus. So this is a very important virus. So in case of potato leaf roll virus, so अघि चाहिँ PBM को केसमा पनि rolling त rolling हुन्थ्यो, but they are soft rolling. In this case, the rolling is very prominent. This is more observed on the upper leaves. So there is rolling of the upper young leaves. Infected leaves, they are upright. They are very upright and they turn yellow. यसको अरू generally these अघि पनि मैले भनेको थिएँ, these leaves they will crack at the point of rolling gradually. Plants, they are stunted, and त्यसपछि चाहिँ there may be marginal intervenal necrosis. So in this case marginal intervenal necrosis is seen. So in case of viral diseases it is very difficult, हैन, कसैले चाहिँ लिएर आउनुहुन्छ पोटेटो भाइरस XY, त्यो चाहिँ तपाईँले आफ्नो तपाईँले एउटा एउटा चाहिँ स्पेकुलेसनको लागि यो सिम्टम्सहरू युज गरिन्छ, तर देयर आर सो मेनी कम्प्लेक्सिटिज. सो PLRV, PBX, PBY, PBM, they occur in the same plant, in the same tissue. There may be so many complex symptoms. So in case of PLRV, leaf rolling is the most diagnostic symptom. Rolled leaves, they are leathery, they are stiff, they are very brittle. So of course, यसमा पनि again there are many strains. And some strains they cause. Okay, so sorry for the interruption again. So my PLRV को कुरा गर्दै थिएँ. So upward rolling is one of the diagnostic symptoms. They are very, and the plant assumes erect stature. They are dwarfed. So apart from that, intervenal necrosis can be seen. So generally, intervenal necrosis they are also seen in case of PLRV, and these symptoms they are symptoms of phloem necrosis. So it causes phloem necrosis in the tubers. So generally, these may not be seen instantly when the tubers are harvested. So storage these kind of necrosis can be seen, particularly in the phloem, or some kind of inner tissues will show some kind of strands of discoloration. This is also known as net necrosis, or this is phloem necrosis. So as I already said, tumors may not be apparent. So symptoms on tumors, it may not be apparent immediately at the harvesting, although they can develop in storage. So net necrosis of potato is also a result of this PLRV infection. So the phloem tissues, they become necrotic. Uh, Tuber infections may be seen in case of potato leaf roll virus. So again, these are some symptoms of PLRB. So leaves are rolled, they are erect, they may be dropped. Some kind of mosaic may be seen. So necrosis of the phloem, particularly in the haulm, or in the त्यो हलबाट चाहिँ पोटाटो ट्युबरमा जाने भएको अथवा चाहिँ भेन्समा पनि इन्टरभिनल नेक्रोसिस देखिन सक्छ. So these are some facts about potato leaf roll virus. So PLRV, it is transmitted by aphids in persistent manner. Persistent भनेको के भनेर तपाईँलाई थाहा छ. Mysis persicki, Olacordum solani, Macrosiphum euphorbia. There are several species of aphids. So most efficient is peach potato aphid. So again, PLRV symptom upward rolling. There may be, of course, mottling, there may be mosaic, but those are not diagnostic symptoms. Phloem necrosis अथवा चाहिँ venal necrosis, intervenal necrosis, veनमा necrosis देखिन्छ, हलमा necrosis देखिने, त्यो कुराहरू they are important things to be considered. PVX को transmission, it is seed transmitted, and it is contact. They have several host strains. Transmission by vectors, they are not very efficient. Some grasshoppers biting insect PVX को बारेमा त्यस्तै PVY, they are transmitted अघि मैले necrosis. PVY को केसमा they cause severe rugose or severe mosaic. They may cause necrosis on the tubers. They may also cause necrosis of the veins. Some dead spots may be seen. So they also get transmitted from seed tuber, and they are transmitted by aphids. Again, they have many hosts. About PVS, it is Carla virus. Again, it is transmitted by aphids, Mysis persicki, Apis astruti, franguli, but Mysis persicki is the most efficient vector. Contact bodapani, it is transmitted. So these are some facts about diseases of potato. So thank you so much. If you have anything to ask, you may ask. That's all for today. Okay, thank you so much if you don't have anything.